Alright, today we're making some mac salad, at least the noodles part at first. And what I have here is a bag of macaroni. Got some water getting ready to be boiled. I'm going to put the bag in. I couldn't find any more. I know we have more usually, but couldn't find any more. So I'm taking some mac and cheese boxes. And I just took out the pouches. And I'm going to also dump those in as part of our macaroni. And the third one, I'm going to take this package out. Then I'm going to take my other bag. This is a slightly different shape of macaroni. I'm going to put that in. Okay, so let that boil for a while. I'm going to cover it up. And every so often, well, you know mac and cheese, you just take it and you stir it, scrape the bottom on it. So, and of course, every once in a while, you want to stir it. Make sure the bottom doesn't get stuck. Bottom macaroni doesn't get stuck. And you get it boiling. You could make it like normal macaroni, or I guess traditionally they make it a little more soggy, a little more cooked. The key though is after you're done cooking it, when you strain it and prepare it, you want to make sure it's doesn't stick together after it's strained, and then also to make sure that it's cold when you're mixing it and serving it. So we'll go through that too. Alright, it's been several minutes cooking. I turned off the heat and I added a little more water. I didn't have enough in there because it was rising and rising. So this is about ready. A little more on the, little over on the soggy side, but that's kind of what we're looking for, if possible. And I'm going to put that into this here and strain it out, shake it out, and then put it in this bowl. But I'm also going to put a little bit of oil. This is just canola oil. You can use margarine or coconut oil or whatever, to just a little bit to loosen it up and make it so it doesn't stick to itself while you put it in the fridge. Now for this next part, we're going to turn on a little bit of cold water. I just turn that on so that I don't dump hot water down the drain. Then I dump the macaroni into the bowl. It's kind of a lot. And before I don't want to cool it down just yet, I want to rinse it first. So the next step is to turn this to hot, and then I'll rinse it in hot. I'm keeping it warm because I want the macaroni to steam off a little bit. After it's done, get my water up to heat, full heat. Alright, so let's get this down, strained out. This is kind of a big load, but that's what you'll be doing. Again, this is purposely cooked a little extra. Normally when I make mac and cheese or spaghetti, I do a little less oil. You see it's a little more on the soggy side. So now I need to let it sit and get the water out. I do something, if it wasn't so big it'd be easier, but basically I'm rolling the macaroni in the pan. Let that strain out, keep going for a while. Now this part here is something I've just started doing the past couple of years. So I'll let it sit here for a little bit and I'll come back. But that's adding just a little bit of oil to cover the surface of the macaroni. But I'm going to let this strain for a minute on its own. Now it's been a couple of minutes, or a minute or so, since I've been letting it sit. What I'm going to do now is take another bowl. This is a Tupperware bowl. I'm going to dump it in here. It looks like I've got most of the water out. This is the bowl I'm going to end up cooling it in. But if you're going to let it sit overnight before adding the mayonnaise, the rest of the mayonnaise, this is what I've started doing. You take some oil like this, and I put it in this little spout thing and just dump a little bit on top, Remember that mayonnaise is mostly oil, so that this is just putting a layer of it. Mix it in. And then do another layer, maybe another layer or two with mixing in between. And what that does is it makes it so the macaroni doesn't stick to itself so much. Basically, it can sit in the fridge and not get turned into this big giant lump of pasta. I'm gonna do it one more time. Just a little bit of, I'm not putting a lot on, just a little drizzle, and then mixing it around itself. After this, if you're going to make it right, soon, you want to let it sit in the fridge at least an hour to 3 hours. It's got to be cold. That's the best way to work it, and it tastes the best too that way when you're serving it, at least cool. Okay, so this is cooked. It's now been put in, strained. It's still steaming a little bit, so I'm going to let it cool down a little more outside, and then I'll put it in the fridge. Probably for the next 3-4 hours at least, or overnight. You're going to put it in the fridge, cover it up with plastic or foil, and that should be good for the first phase of this. It has now been a couple of days since I put this macaroni in the fridge. I just wanted to show you, I washed my hands, so don't worry about that. The elbow macaronis looks fine. That's what we're looking for. Nice consistency. I'm not too impressed with the cheaper mac and cheese box mac, so I'll remember not to do that again. But anyway, this is still the same ingredients. Notice though, with the oil, things are still kind of I guess you could say fluffy. They don't stick together. And then it's time. I've chilled this. It's cold, and I've also chilled the mayonnaise. It's helpful when they're already cold. This is just Best Foods or Hellmann's, and I'm going to put some in. I'm going for about 2 cups. I'm sorry, I'm not the measuring type. I just go by look or consistency. So I'll put that in. Also, what I've done is grated some carrots. You can see, I'm going to dump this in and see how it looks. Completely for looks, there's not enough nutrition in those carrots to make a whole lot of difference. But I put them in, you could put other things. Now other people put in things like their special sauce or some special seafood powder or something. I've seen them put sugar in, milk, but the true basic simple brand, that's almost a cup there, is just mayonnaise and salt and then some kind of decorative amount there. So now just sticking to the basics. That's almost 2 cups. We'll see how that mixes in. Mixing that in. Probably another 2 cups needed. I'll go ahead and grab a little more. And as I get further along, I will go ahead and dump the, oops, losing a little macaroni. I'll dump in the carrots. Oh, this isn't so bad. I'm going to add maybe a cup more. So that's almost a cup there. Spread that around. And I hate to say it, but as much as mayonnaise gets the bad rap for health, it is the flavor, or at least the texture in this, and the flavor of it. I would not recommend Miracle Whip. It has a completely different flavor to it. So getting there, I'm going to get some carrots, dump that in. Scrape that off. Now, from my own personal experience, I think it needs a little more. That may be what we'll go with, but you could stop there. Just know that when you let it sit out in the open, it's not refrigerated, the mayonnaise tends to get clear and sort of lose its substance there. But that is the basics of mac salad. I'm just going to do a little bit more so I can get that full consistency. And then last but not least, I will put in some salt. Salt too. Keep in mind you can just salt your own plate. That's the easiest way to do the least amount of salt. But for this general purpose, I'm gonna do a layer here, mix it in, and then do one more layer of the salt and mix that in. Okay, just a little bit more. Spilled some macaroni on the side. A little more salt. Okay, that should do it. That's our macaroni salad. And then a lot of times when they serve it, they'll serve it with an ice cream scoop, so it keeps its shape, doesn't get all over the place. That is your basic macaroni salad.